Hello, Texans. I'm Susanna, and this is the Susanna Gibb Show. Thank you so much for being with us. This is our Just Take 10 series. Normally on this podcast, we interview Texans. But every other podcast, we're trying this new thing because we can, and nobody's here to tell us what to do. It's very Texas spirit, I have to say. It's our Just Take 10 series. And a lot of this was, I needed to just take 10. I needed to just take 10 minutes for myself. I needed 10 minutes before I drove somewhere. I needed a 10-minute mindset shift. I've even started using this with my kids. I'm like, listen, just take 10 seconds to pick up those shoes and put them away. Just take a minute. Just take it. Take some time. And so this one is really about setting your RAS, your reticular activating system. And if you want the form that we talk about on this podcast, reach out to us. We'd be happy to share it. Thank you again for being with us. The insurance agency sponsors this podcast. Please go to gibbagencydallas.com. We would love to hear from you. And now, on with the show. Ben, welcome back to our Just Take 10 series. I'm very excited to go through this process. I'm going to do it internally while you are going through it. He's going to share his screen. So if you're listening, just know that you can go to the YouTube channel and look at this here, or you can, we're going to put the form out so it's available to you at multiple opportunities. So Ben, if you want to go ahead, you can share your screen.
Okay. Share. All right. So how is it? Can you see that?
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So what is this form specifically? What are we doing?
This form is designed to discover what kind of beliefs we have around business and finance, money essentially, and where the resistance is, right? So that's one of the things I like to do is I like to go through and create a vision of a future. Like, what do you want your future to look like? And be very clear on that vision, and then discover where the resistance is to that vision. And that's usually in the form of limiting beliefs, right? So this is a kind of a small snippet of part of the process as I go through. But this is designed to identify what kind of beliefs I have about business and finance and money. And I think last time we talked about, the first question, which was growing up, money was blank, right? Hard to come by, scarce, the cause of my parents' divorce, things of that nature. So this will give you an idea about what your belief on money is. Now, if I say money is scarce, is that a fundamental truth? Well, no, it's just my belief, right? Which I think is true because it's my experience, but it's not a fundamental truth, right? And then also what kind of emotions surrounding money, right? So I like to do this exercise. If for me it was, scarcity, stress, anxiety, not enough, right? All of those things, trying to control it. Now, if those are my emotions around money, right? And then what I do is, it's like I was going to do a timer here, so I just make sure I honor the time properly. There we go. So if I have all of those emotions around money, right? All those negative, controlling, fear, anxiety emotions, I like to do this exercise with people. And if I took money out of those circle of emotions and I put a human in there and I tried to have a relationship with that human, how would that go? Probably not very good, right? And money, again, believe it or not, is just a frequency of energy and information. It's made of atoms as well, and atoms are mostly empty space, but it's not empty space. It's energy information, right? So it's another way to think about this. What kind of emotional relationship do I have with money? People keep talking about an IQ around finances, but what about an EQ? What are my emotions, right? And so we need to be aware of that. And that drives also what our beliefs are around our RAVs, right? And then current limiting beliefs about business. Oh, business is hard. It's a struggle. There's no clients, most businesses fail, right? And all these things, right? So those are limiting beliefs about products or service. I went through this with a client of mine recently about his products and service. And it was, it was interesting for him. He created limiting beliefs about his products or services because he had a fear of being successful because his dad was successful and his dad had all sorts of other problems in his personal life and health and all that sort of stuff, right? So he subconsciously started to create negative beliefs about his products or services because he was becoming very successful, but that meant that all of these other areas of his life were going to be very challenged. Well, that's not a truth, right? So again, they weren't even true. He just created them. What are our beliefs around obtaining clients? Oh, it's difficult. You have to have at least 30 touches or 20 touches or 12 touches for a client to get a client. That's a belief. That's not fundamentally true all the time. There might be some truth to it, but it's not true all the time. We've all had interaction with clients and boom, it just happened right out the gate. About the economy, it's really hard, it's challenging. Their interest rates are high. That's fine, but there's also people doing business. There are people out there making money in any economy, right? So again, that's just a belief. And then I talked about this previously. What is your self-view? Is your self-view defeating? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Now, when we have those views aren't really, we feel like they're ours, but they're not, right? They're just based upon an experience that we had as a child, usually, and then we made a decision about ourselves based upon that experience, which is usually based in a lie, right? So you want to look at, hey, what is my self-view? Am I good enough? Do I think I'm smart enough? Do I think I'm able to do this? Am I worthy? I will say that in my years of doing this, unworthiness, not feeling good enough, those tend to be universal experiences. Everybody has some version of that. And when you start to really investigate it, it's actually based upon a misinterpretation of some past event. And then it's a lie that you developed into a narrative about yourself that you keep telling yourself. It's not even true, right? But again, that then creates our beliefs, which then programs our RAS, which then keeps recreating the same circumstance. And then we talked about...
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. So when you're talking to people about self-view, do you feel like people have an accurate idea of who they are? Like, that feels like the dumbest question I've ever asked, because obviously, no,
I think it's a great question. I think a lot of people think they know who they are, but I don't think they really know who they are.
How do you find out who you are? I mean, like, for somebody who's like the guy you talked about, who's scared of being successful. He wasn't walking around going, man, I am scared of being successful, right?
Right. So that's a blind spot. Spot, right?
Yeah, how do you find your blind spots? Because you can't ask somebody else, hey, what is your self-view of, what is my self-view of me? Because then that's not my self-view.
Well, no, if you're honest with yourself and you're honest with the recurring loops that you keep experiencing, then you can kind of get to it, right? There's a guy who I really like his work. His name is Peter Crone. He has a saying, is life will present to you situations and people to reveal where you're not free. And what he means by that is that you'll keep recreating the situation until you learn the lesson, right? Mm-hmm. And that freedom is you have a negative belief or thought about yourself. And that's why this keeps showing up, right? You haven't learned the lesson. So that's actually the gift in the replaying of that negative situation or people I keep attracting. Why do I keep attracting these people in my life? Well, because you don't have a healthy relationship likely with yourself, right? If you don't feel you truly love yourself, if you don't really love yourself, like authentically, then you don't feel you're worthy of love. Why could somebody else love you? And then you're going to attract a relationship where you're not going to feel that love because you don't love yourself. Why would somebody else love you, right? So if you keep recreating these situations, it gives you a hint on where these beliefs are, right? So you can look to your experiences. And also, often it's good to get a third-party view around it. Hey, somebody outside to walk through these things, right? But you can discover it on yourself. But, some of the most successful people in the world have coaches, right? Like, Tiger Woods and Ray Dalio, who runs the world's largest hedge fund, right? Like, they all have coaches. Well, they have it because they want someone to critique and help them with their blind spots, right? But you can certainly do a lot of the work yourself by being really authentic and honest with the results you're receiving. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, absolutely. And okay. I feel like I that was amazing deviation. I don't mean to take you away from your form. So
no problem at all. So then what's your worldview? Like, is the world a boundless opportunities, or is, man, the world is always combative with me? I'm always fighting the world. I love this one. Like, why does this always happen to me? I'm like, well, that's why, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're creating that. You don't even know you're creating that, right? And you say, well, Ben, that's not been my experience. Well, that's because you're creating it. And until you can think and feel greater than your current circumstances, you're going to keep getting your current circumstances. And so you have to stop reacting in the old version of yourself. You have to stop reacting. Sorry, I'm trying to monitor my timer. You have to stop reacting the same way. If you think the same way, act the same way, and feel the same way, don't expect any change in your life. Right? So if you have this combative view of the world, then the world's going to be combative. Right?
Yeah.
So to me, once you go through, you can go through, okay, here are my current limiting beliefs. And this is a fillable form. Okay, sales are hard to get. Well, what if they're not? What if my new empowering belief is, no, sales come to me at the right opportunity and with the best clients. And another way to do this is if you have your analytical mind, which everybody has, right? This is a form of affirmation, right? But it's also a decision you're making. It's very important to realize that your beliefs are really decisions you made, right? You can make new decisions. So the new decision I'm going to anchor in is I always obtain the best clients. They're great to deal with. They have a positive mindset, and you can anchor that if you just make that decision. Now, some people have a hard time with that because the analytical mind goes, that's not been my experience. That's ridiculous, right? Well, if you're trying to reprogram your subconscious, you can also structure that statement as a question. And when you structure that statement as a question, your analytical mind will not argue at all against it. This is why I think, for me, affirmations can be slow moving, right? Because your analytical mind is going to fight you every single time on it, right? Until you beat your analytical mind to submission. But if you ask a question, your analytical mind will not analyze it. So I'll give you an example. If I say, I'm wealthy, and I'm not, my analytical mind's going to go, that's not true. Or if I go, man, why does money flow so easily to me? Like if you say that to yourself internally, there's no resistance to it because it's a question. But what happens is your subconscious will only focus on the subject matter. So if I say, why is there an elephant? What your subconscious will anchor is the elephant. We'll focus on the elephant. So if you're having a hard time programming your new empowering belief as a statement because there's a lot of resistance, you can do it in the form of a question. Like, why do the perfect clients always flow into my life? There's no resistance to that statement. But your subconscious is hanging on to the subject matter, which is good clients flowing into your existence. Hopefully that makes sense.
It does.
So you can list your current limiting beliefs and then just do the 180 of that.
Perfect. Well, this is a great form. It's a great intro to what you do with your clients and how people can, live their best lives. That's what everybody wants, right?
Yeah, I just want people to realize that they're way more powerful than they think they are. And they've been conditioned to their limitations, not through any nefarious thing. Our parents did the best. Most of our parents did the best that they could, right? That they're carrying their baggage and bad programming from their parents, right? And I tell people the reason it feels so heavy, these negative thoughts and feelings so heavy, is because it's not yours. Like, it's baggage you're carrying that's not yours. You've inherited it, right? A lot of people think that, wealth inheritance is the most important. It's not. It's the inheritance of beliefs, right? Those are the most important. And you need to realize which inheritances you got and which ones you want to give to your kids.
There's a few I'd like to kick to the curb and be free of, for sure. All right, Ben, thank you again. Thank you for some time with us on the Just Take 10. If anybody wants to get this form, reach out to us. We will be happy to share it, and we'd love to have some feedback on your experiences and how you felt about this podcast.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you again for being with us today on this Just Take 10. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for taking 10 minutes with us, and we'll see you again next week.